The vice president of the US came to Zambia, landed at a Chinese-built airport in Zambia, moved on a Chinese-built road in Zambia. The venue of this summit was actually a gift to Zambia by the Chinese government. And the key agenda of this summit was to curb Africa's cooperation with China.
China, 67%. That's tariffs charged to the USA, including currency manipulation and trade barriers. So we're going to be charging a discounted reciprocal tariff of 34%. In other words, they charge us, we charge them.
But earlier this week, China announced a new policy that will be a game changer for 33 of the least developed African countries. Moving forward, these 33 nations will enjoy a new zero tariff treatment, which basically means they will have zero tariffs on all products or goods exported to China.
Right now, the whole world, including myself, is trying to understand what the impact will be of Donald Trump's trade tariffs. Now, whether you think this is good or bad for America, the concern of myself and this channel is whether it's good or bad for Africa. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how I think this will impact Africa. So if you like the sound of that, please stay tuned. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is TJ. And I live in Uganda, Africa with my partner, Medina. I grew up mostly in the UK, so relocating to Africa has been a huge challenge in my life. I started this channel to document it, but since its beginning, the channel has evolved into trying to answer this fundamental question. Why has Africa not reached its full potential? And what do we have to do for Africa to reach its full potential? So when Donald Trump makes the kind of seismic changes that he's made for his trade tariffs, there is no doubt that there will be an impact on Africa. And China is going to play a massive role in whether this situation is good or bad for the continent. The image you're looking at right here is of a Chinese and African summit. It happens every 3 years. And it's designed to figure out ways in which Africa and China can work more closely together. And it's usually celebrated by African countries because China usually announces all sorts of trade deals, usually involving infrastructure that they're going to implement on the continent. In the last decade alone, China has made over $700 billion worth of investments and infrastructure projects within the continent of Africa. If you watched my last video, you would have seen a stark contrast with the way America discusses its interactions with Africa. The lady you see on the screen here, Mrs. Greenfield, is the US representative on the United Nations.
We don't want to give up our veto power. And we do think if we expand that veto power across the board, it will make the council more dysfunctional.
First of all, I find that comment very, very insulting. You are simply suggesting that the addition of 2 African countries is going to make the process dysfunctional. What an insult.
It seems to me that America wants to continue the historical relationship that it's had with Africa, where whatever deals they make with Africa end up being one-sided, and the people on the continent don't fully benefit. So taking it back to the actual tariffs that the US has done, Donald Trump has decided to massively raise the tariffs that it charges for China to import products into the United States, which may very well lead to very high prices for the products that China produces. What America is leveraging here is that they are the biggest consumer nation on the earth. So if you want to sell to this space, you will have to work on America's rules. But I believe there is a fatal flaw in this logic, and this is where Africa comes in. The Chinese man you see in this image is the Chinese foreign minister, and he's shaking hands with Netumbo Ndaitwa, the newly elected president of Namibia. You see, every year he visits a minimum of 5 African countries, and he does this for the sole purpose of improving relations between China and African nations. They may or may not strike deals. He sits with the leaders of those countries. He asks them what their challenges are, what their problems are. They smile, they shake hands, they drink tea together, and they discuss opportunities on how the countries can help each other. All of these things are taken back into account, and the result is something like what happened at the last one of these China-Africa summits. China announced zero trade tariffs on 33 of the 54 African nations that were in attendance. I wonder if you remember a few years ago, United States essentially expelled Huawei from being a major phone carrier within the United States. And you would think that this would be a devastating blow to any international mobile phone company. But the truth is, all they did will switch to selling more phones domestically and selling to where? Places like Africa, other developing markets, other newly maturing markets. You see, Africa is on an absolute boom right now. I know there's many issues and I know there's problems, but the demographics means that by 2050, Africa's population is going to be between 1/3 and 1/2 of the total world's population. When we talk about things like mobile phones, the average African is starting to be able to afford those mobile phones. Now, the interesting thing about mobile phones is they contain minerals only found in Africa that are essential for mobile phones to actually function. One of these minerals is cobalt. And I'm sure you'll know by now, 80% of the world's cobalt comes from Congo. That cobalt has to be refined. Guess who the world's #1 refiner of cobalt is? China. They refine more than 80% of the world's cobalt. Now let's think about infrastructure.
This road, known as the #1 national highway, is regarded as a gem by the Congolese. The 535-kilometer-long highway starts from the port city Port-Nord on the Atlantic coast and links key cities along the way, finally reaching the capital Brazzaville, which is the main economic artery of the country. In 2006, under the Forum of China-Africa Cooperation and the Belt and Road Initiative, China and the Republic of Congo signed an agreement that would ultimately change not only Congo's landscape, but also the lives of the people. The construction of the #1 national highway began. It became the largest infrastructure project in the history of China-Congo cooperation.
Actually, it was a road quite full of challenge. I mean, why all the other foreign companies didn't make it? Because the technical problems, we say difficulties, was beyond imagination. Because this road traverses different landforms. Like this is the plateaus, and along the way we will have the grassland, we will have swamps, we will have primitive forests, and all different kinds of hydrologies.
After 8 long years, the highway was completed.
We don't give up because this road conveys so much hope and opportunities for the Congolese population. And we Chinese people, we have experienced poverty in our history not long before. So we know what it means if we have a proper road to develop our economy.
The highway has indeed contributed to the economic development of the country. Trading centers have mushroomed all along the road. Goods now easily move between Brazzaville and Port-Nord, including many towns in between.
The #1 national highway has facilitated traffic and reduced commuting time between Brazzaville and Port-Nord from at least 7 days to just 8 hours. The traffic volume has increased from around 160 vehicles per day to more than 4,000. The country's imports and exports of important minerals and resources happens through this highway to Port-Nord.
I was thinking about this lady that you see on the screen here, and I was wondering, when have we ever heard Americans talk about Africa with the kind of rhetoric and compassion and understanding that this lady spoke?
Why do we want these people from, quote, all these shithole countries here? According to a Democratic aide familiar with the conversation, Mr. Trump was referring to African nations and Haiti.
In the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of.
Of course, China is not building this road for free. They're building this road for the opportunity to create a situation where, when it comes to the minerals and the resources that China needs, when it comes to the trade and benefits that China wants from Congo, there will be a mutually beneficial opportunity. Hey, we built you a road. What can we do on the tariffs for this deal? How much of your cobalt, how much of your rare earths, how much of these things can we trade in? Some people do call this neo-colonialism. I've also heard it being said that these projects are predatory, because sometimes with these infrastructure projects, they put a debt on the resources that the country has, or they put a debt that the country is not able to pay, and therefore the result is they renegotiate for further resources. But has America and the West not done the same in Africa without actually producing the level of infrastructure that China has produced? Right now, there is a project for a high-speed modern railway that is set to be built. The aim is by 2033. It's being built by the Chinese. It covers the entire continent. The goal is to touch every major city. That will have a material effect on the prosperity of Africa. Much like Huawei didn't need America to keep going, as long as it had the rest of the world available to sell to. The truth is, Africa doesn't need America anymore. Tell me what products that America produces that China doesn't produce just as well, if not better. Chinese are producing cars that are blowing the minds of what people think is possible, particularly in the EV space.
This is the Yangwang U8. It's the luxury arm of BYD. In the front, your main headlights are here, but at night this entire thing lights up and it looks amazing. So my charge port is here, and when I open it, this will tell me my charge level. But on this side, you put in gas. That powers your turbo 4-cylinder generator. This doesn't power the car, it just makes electricity for those motors. On a full charge and a full tank of gas, this can do over 600 miles. Inside, you get this panoramic roof that literally has shooting stars, and it can also do this. Ni hao, Yangwang.
What's that?
Kai Tian Trump. Hey! You also get pillows in your headrest. My seats are heated, ventilated, and massaging. I get a passenger screen, ambient lighting underneath, more ambient lighting up here, and this curved display that works ultra fast. You also get a front and rear locker, 50-watt charging pads, a built-in cooler, storage space under here, and what's this? It also has hydraulic suspension and can float in water.
Now, many African countries do not have the greatest electrical grid system, but what is starting to happen is that the solar industry is becoming ubiquitous here. And guess who makes these solar panels? China. So we don't need American cars. The Chinese build the infrastructure. The Chinese have phones and technology companies, and they don't impose ideological beliefs on the African continent. The Chinese don't come in and say, you must follow my religion. You must follow my ideology. You must be more inclusive on this or that or the third. They simply say, let's do business. While I do think there will be negative trade impact today with the things that Africa exports to the United States, the long run to me looks very bright for the continent of Africa. I'm sure you guys have got lots of comments to say. If I've missed anything, the comment section is open for you to give me your opinion. But if you've got nothing to say, would it be too much for me to ask you to write the words African trade in the comments section? It lets me know you watched to the end, you like the channel, and you want me to continue putting out videos like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.